What is ethics? Is it law, religion, culture, or something deeper? What exactly is ethics? One of the best ways to find out what is ethics is to identify what ethics is not. And in today's session, that's what we plan to do. We'll first identify what ethics is not. Then we'll talk about what ethics is. So stay tuned. People often confuse right and wrong with legal and illegal. And that brings me to the first point, that ethics is not simply about following laws. While law and ethics often overlap, but they're fundamentally different. Law is enforced by a government, and the purpose of law is to maintain peace and order, while ethics focus on what is morally right and what is morally wrong, independent of what the law states. And often, law and ethics are at loggerheads. For instance, let's take racial segregation. It was legally acceptable, but completely unethical. On the other side, whistleblowing can be ethically acceptable but deemed illegal. In short, ethics asks this question: is the action right and just? While law focuses on this question: is the action legal? So there lies the fundamental difference. To know more about the differences between law and ethics, we already have an episode. Do watch that. Many of us derive our sense of right and wrong from religious teachings, but religion is not synonymous with ethics. Religion provides moral codes based on divine authority, while ethical principles are independent, I repeat, independent of any religious beliefs. Ethics seeks universal principles that applies to all people irrespective of religious belief. For example, an atheist can be ethical and follow principles of honesty and compassion without appealing to any religious authority. Another crucial difference between ethics and religion is ethics is based on critical reasoning, questioning, while religious codes are absolute, based on divine authority, which are beyond any kind of questioning. So the bottom line is, ethics is rational, based on critical thinking and questioning, while religion is based on faith. So remember, one focuses on reasoning and the other focuses on faith. Ethics is not personal preferences such as I don't like lying, or an emotional reaction such as oh, that makes me feel bad. No, it is not. Fine, emotions do play a role in ethical decision making, but ethics requires ethical reasoning based on application of ethical principles. So remember that ethics is objective. It is not one of those subjective preferences. For example, when somebody says, I don't like broccoli, now that has nothing to do with ethics. That's personal preference. On the other hand, environmental harm by dumping toxic waste is unethical irrespective of how you feel. So the bottom line here is, ethics is not about subjective preferences. These are objective, very objective, based on consistent application of ethical principles. Ethics is not about your personal preferences. Ethics is about being objective. Ethical principles transcend social customs and cultural norms. Just because something is socially acceptable does not make it right. For instance, slavery and gender inequality was socially acceptable. Now, that did not make it right. In fact, ethical principles questioned it. So, ethics is not about following social conventions or norms or traditions. It's about applying ethical principles. So, ethics is not about following social customs or traditions or norms. It's much more than that. So the bottom line here is, ethics challenges social customs if they end up being in conflict with the well-established ethical principles. The very mention of the word ethics makes people feel that ethics is about bigger issues like war, euthanasia, capital punishment. No. Ethics is also about our everyday life. It involves decisions such as, should I lie to save a friend? Is it ethical to download copyrighted stuff? Should I report a colleague of mine who's indulging against a departmental interest? So ethics involves our everyday decisions also, at the same time bigger moral issues also. So the bottom line here is ethics is not just about big moral issues, it's also about our everyday moral decision making. Now that we explored what ethics is not, let's try to understand what ethics is. And according to philosophers, ethics deals with three core questions. The first question is what to be, and this question focuses on what kind of people we ought to be, what kind of moral qualities, virtues, character strengths that I should be developing, or we all human beings should be developing. So this question focuses on what kind of a human being we should become. The next question is what to do. If the first question focused on what kind of person we should be, the second question focused on the action. What makes an action right? What makes an action wrong? What makes an action good? What are our responsibilities towards society? What are my rights? What are my duties? So this is the second question, what to do. The third question is how to decide. And if you notice, human life is all about making decisions, and not only routine decisions, also ethical decisions. There are often times in life where we have ethical challenges, we have moral dilemmas. Now, how to decide on those situations of moral dilemma is the third question of ethics. How to decide. Let's shift gears and try to understand how academicians define the word ethics. Let's take Encyclopedia of Philosophy. It uses the word ethics in three different ways. First one, it refers to ethics as a way of life, a pattern of life. For instance, Buddhist ethics. Second, it refers to ethics as moral codes, a set of codes, say for example, a professional code of conduct. Thirdly, it considers ethics as a subject of philosophy involved in critical understanding of morality or moral practices. Other definition includes ethics is concerned with how we should live our lives. It focuses on questions about what is right or wrong, fair or unfair, caring or uncaring, good or bad, responsible or irresponsible, and the like. Ethics deals with what is right or wrong in human behavior and conduct. The Oxford Dictionary of Philosophy defines ethics as a study of concepts involved in practical reasoning, good, right, duty, obligation, virtue, freedom, rationality, and choice. Now let's come down to the key part of the session, that is a question, what exactly is ethics? Now that we looked at what encyclopedia says, what the academicians say, now to conclude, ethics is about what kind of people we should be. So ethics deals with virtues, our moral strengths, our moral excellences. What is right and wrong in human behavior? Ethics explores the moral dimension of our actions, our decisions, its consequences, how we decide what to do. Ethics studies how humans make ethical decisions when confronted with moral choices, standards of conduct. It studies and identifies the rules and the standards of the conduct that regulates human society and our group behavior. Critical inquiry. Ethics is a branch of philosophy that studies and clarifies moral judgments. To wrap up, ethics is not about religion, law, or subjective preference. It's about three basic fundamental questions. What kind of a person should I be? How to get my actions right? And how to get my decisions right? That's it. That's what ethics is all about. So long, happy learning.